So, all right, now we have Tim Cox back on the line. Computer science experts, as I was saying, being highly rational people, have to constantly apply the specific qualifier, does it work? Clearly, our current system of government, one straying far away from our founders' vision, is not working. So for Tim, developing a system that could affect actual change in our congressional house was the solution. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So do you think your background as an engineer influences your perspective on politics and how you approach this project for Get Out of Our House?
Absolutely. I started this process that we've developed with that in mind. Not how would you solve the problem politically, because we see how the two parties have tried to do that, but how would we solve this problem from a process perspective, right? The fundamental problem is that we have politicians instead of representatives serving us, and I set out to build a system using my background and my expertise that would focus on fixing the root cause of the problem, which is removing career politicians.
Hold on. You say that the root problem is the career politicians. Don't we have, I mean, I know that the democratic process of voting and electing representatives in this country isn't as transparent and open as it should be. Elections aren't fair by any stretch of the imagination. But if we do have enough of a connection there, I think, between the people and the leaders that your plan is even possible, then how can we expect it to change by simply electing new people?
Well, think about this. How could you possibly have a Congress that has a 15% approval rating have 94% of incumbents get reelected every 2 years on average? And the reason you get that result is the system is rigged so that the incumbents win. And the incumbents, as they get in office, they don't go up there to serve the people. They go up there to serve their party. They go up there to serve the special interest groups that fund them. And they go up there to serve and further their own political career. So our contention is, as our founding fathers said when they created this system, let's pick a true citizen representative, send them to Washington or wherever, right, to represent us for a couple of years, and then let them go home. They warned us against career politicians, but the people in office today have changed the system, so that's exactly what we get as career politicians, and they're so worried about doing what's politically correct that none of them have the courage to do what needs to be done. Even Paul Ryan, in his recent budget plan that's catching all this heat, he doesn't propose to balance the budget for 26 years, and that's outrageous that anybody would think that that's a reasonable step in the right direction. We need to balance his budget in a couple of years.
All right, well, you point to that disconnect. Just to go back for a second, 15% approval rating, whatever, 30% of Americans voting in midterm elections or of potential voters actually going out and voting. You don't think the problem's a little more with the American people here and the fact that we are tolerating this system, that we are letting, I mean, in an election where 30% of the voting public goes to vote, that means that you only need a 15% score to get elected, to win that election. You only need 15% of the population, not less than 15% of the population. You get 15% of voters to vote for you. That's 50% of the vote in an election where only 30% of the people turn out.
Yeah, that's a very fair comment, but again, think of this. How many people do you believe don't bother to vote because the outcome is already known? 85% of the districts are so gerrymandered, you
Right.
know which party's going to win in 2012, and we're a year plus out. So many people have given up. Now, it's what you say is factual, and not very many people bother to vote. And I think in some cases that might be a good thing. But the reality is more people would vote if they had a legitimate, honest choice. I'm a number guy, right? I'm a math guy, a computer science guy. We've done surveys extensively, and what we find is most people don't bother because they already know who's going to win.
All right, so tell us how the system is distinct from other efforts in the past to just throw the bums out, and how people can get involved.
Okay, getting involved is simple. You go to the website, thegooh.com, GOOH.com, and become a member. That takes only an email address. The way we're different is very, very subtle. What we're trying to do is let the members of a district choose a candidate to compete in the primaries. What we'll do is we'll take all of our members in a district, let's say we have 1,000, whatever the number happens to be, and we'll randomly sort those participants into pools of 10, and each group of 10 will sit down on a Saturday morning, and among themselves they'll choose 2 people out of that pool to represent them. Those two that are chosen would advance from each of the different pools. All the advancers would be mingled into new pools, and they would choose two. And that process repeats 3 or 4 weekends until ultimately one person rises to the top of the system chosen by their peers. And that's very different than a Republican or Democratic party working in the back room to get some good old boy that's been part of the system for 20 years and say, hey, let's put young Nancy Pelosi on the ballot here because the congressman in her district's passed away and we need to get somebody in. And they just kind of handpick somebody and channel them through. So what we're going to do is let the people of the district handpick a candidate to compete fairly in the primaries. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to raise the funds that we need amongst the people that participate. So rather than go beg for money from special interest groups and raise on average over $1 million per candidate, we're going to pool all of the money from all of our participants, and we're going to run a national advertising campaign that effectively asks America, wouldn't you like to fire Congress? Wouldn't you like to replace them with true citizen representatives? And our polling data shows that 95% of America absolutely would like to fire Congress.
Outstanding. Well, this could be the way we get the end run around the two-party system. But you're going with go and not goo so that you can just say go, like get out, right?
Yeah, that's how we know if you're in the club.
All right. Outstanding. Thank you so much. That was Tim Cox, founder of Go, Not Goo. That is Get Out of Our House, GOOOH.com.